One night in October when I was 13 years old, my parents went away so they can go to a lacrosse game, and I had the house entirely to myself. I decided to make the most of it and watched a horror movie that night. Although the movie that I saw was not a horror film, it was a mystery thriller called Seven. The film stars Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman as two detectives who are looking for a serial killer who is killing people based on the 7 deadly sins. Now, my 13-year-old brain saw Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman in the film and thinking, these are two big-name actors, it can't be that scary, right? But I was wrong. I was dead wrong. I remember for a week, all I thought about was the sloth scene. The scene when the police and the detectives uncover the sloth victim, and it looks like he's dead until... He's alive! He's alive! That moment legitimately made me jump out of my seat the first time I saw it. And the film itself has this very depressing, very grungy tone to it. Everywhere in the film is just nothing but pouring rain, and the city itself is not even defined. It could be anywhere. It could be the town you live in. And everywhere you look, there's just nothing but filth and violence in this place. But that's exactly what makes the movie so good, but it gives the film a really unique, really firm tone. And it has inspired films like the 2022 Batman film. And it was the film that helped me get exposed to David Fincher, who is now one of my favorite filmmakers. But it got me wondering about why this detective thriller is scarier than most horror films, or precisely how a non-horror film like this one has the ability to scare the living daylights out of anyone. And that's what I will be exploring today in this video. But before I get into this, make sure you click that like button and subscribe to ETS. Okay, let's do this. When you think of horror films, the films you usually think about are The Exorcist, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They all follow typical horror conventions and tropes and have a keen focus of horrifying the viewer. However, horror can be very subjective at times, and sometimes the audience watches a horror film and they don't find it scary. For example, some people might find Silence of the Lambs one of the scariest films of all time, while others may not find it scary at all. Sometimes it just comes down to audience expectations. And for me, I expected Seven to be nothing more than just a mysterious detective thriller. But when I saw Seven for the first time, I was genuinely surprised by how grungy, dirty, and scary the film turned out to be for me. And this doesn't just come down to the set design, but it also comes down to the characters as well. The characters in Seven don't necessarily act like the typical hero. Morgan Freeman's character of Detective William Somerset is a cop that's keen on focusing on every detail possible, but is also willing to dabble in on corrupt business practices to try to find the serial killer. And Brad Pitt's character, David Mills, acts like a child. That's the best way to describe it. Half the time you see him, he's often doodling around, or he's having other people do the work for him. But it's this childish nature that Mills has that ultimately leads to his downfall. Throughout the film, Mills constantly describes the killer as an insane nutbag, when the killer himself is way more calculated than that. The killer has clearly planned out everything and knows what he's doing. But I think the most horrifying part about it is that we don't really see what he did to the victims. I mean, we see the aftermath, we see what has happened, but we don't see the event as it was unfolding. So it's left up to the viewer's imagination to think of exactly what happened to them during this horrible ordeal that they went through. For example, the lust victim's body is never fully shown, but when Somerset pulls out a photo of a really bizarre sex toy, then your mind comes up with a scenario of exactly what happened to the poor victim. The serial killer himself is almost a mystery within of its own. The serial killer's name is John Doe, which is the name given to dead bodies that go undefined. Everything about him is a mystery, and when he turns himself into police at the end, it just amplifies the suspense and mystery, and it all culminates in one of the greatest endings in film history. Massive spoilers for the ending to here on out. Now before I talk about the ending, I gotta put it into context. Early in the film we get introduced to David Mills' wife, Tracy, played by Gwyneth Paltrow. They were both high school sweethearts when they were young, and they seem to really love each other. But later in the film, it's revealed that Tracy is gonna have a baby, but she doesn't tell her husband because she doesn't know if she wants it or not, which is ironic because her job is being a school teacher. But it turns out that at the end of the film, it's revealed that John Doe killed Tracy, and then,
Put the gun down.
I saw you with the box. What was in the box?
Because I envy your normal life.
But this is all part of John Doe's master plan, as it turns out that he is the second to last victim, which is envy, because he envied David's life. But judging how Brad Pitt's character was like in the film, it triggers his sin of wrath. And then, yeah. But I think that this is what truly makes the film so scary, is that at the end of the day, the villain won. In a typical mystery thriller, Tracy would have lived, John Doe would have been put away in jail forever, and David Mills would have not received any consequences for his actions. But this is a film set in a very dark, grungy universe. How else are you going to end a film like this? And that is 7, the scariest non-horror film of all time. Hope you guys liked the video, and go like and subscribe to ETS.